We're going to start today by doing some brainstorming to prepare for our new project, Name Collage Drawings. First, we'll make a list of all the things we really love. Mine is food, art, gardening, nature, and then make smaller lists coming off of those big ideas. Next, we'll do some small, quick sketches of different ways we can arrange our name on our paper. Different options for where to place your name and how to make it fill the space on your paper to become the focal point so that our drawings can go around it in an interesting way. First, let's think about composition. Some decisions to make is if you want a square or rectangle paper, how you want your name to fill the space. Do you want it to go across the corner, across the center, straight across, in a curved line, diagonally? There are so many options. Next, let's talk about how to fill that space with your name. We have to make sure to make each letter the right size so that we have space to write our entire name in that section. If you have a longer name with lots of letters, then you may have to consider making your letters taller and thinner. If you have a short name with just a few letters, you could make your letters wider and fatter. Once you've sketched out a few different options, then take a step back and look at which one you think is your best. Now it's time to start on our final paper. This time, instead of going quickly, like in our quick sketches, we want to take our time and make sure each letter looks nice and neat exactly how we want it to be, since this is our final draft. If your first try doesn't look exactly how you want it, you always have the back side of your paper to flip it over and try one more time. Next, we'll erase our guidelines and start adding more details to our lettering. Don't forget, you're not stuck with just plain block or bubble letters. You can get fancy and creative with how you want your letters to be. Maybe making some larger, some smaller, some uppercase, some lowercase, even adding some fancy swirls and twirls. If you would like to make your letters look three-dimensional, you're going to make an angled line pointing in the same direction from any curve or turn. If you're using letters that have a curve, you're going to make a second parallel line that follows the same curve of the letter. Don't be afraid to try a few different styles, because you never know what you might like until you get it on paper and you can see what it looks like. And remember, we want to make our name big, but not too big, because we're going to be doing lots of little sketches around it, and we want to leave space for those too. There are some great tutorials and different resources you can find online if you need some help with creating block letters that look three-dimensional. You can find some great step-by-step visual examples on Google image search. You can find some great video tutorials on how to create really interesting ways to make letters look three-dimensional, like they're popping forward using one-point perspective. So do some research if you're interested. There are a lot of great resources out there. As you work, make sure that your drawings feel unified, that they feel connected, that they feel linked, maybe by overlapping, maybe by having them touching, maybe by having interesting lines or patterns that connect them and help them tell your story. And make sure that they're not just a bunch of little individual sketches. Try to make them feel like a complete work of art, a complete idea. This artist, he goes by Mr. Doodle. His name is actually Sam Cox, and he is a huge inspiration for people who love to doodle. And he actually has turned his doodles into fine art. So you would find him at actual, like, real fine art museums across the world now. He's very famous. So if you finish your artwork early, I encourage you to go on and do a little research and maybe look up some interesting videos. He's got a lot of really quick little videos where he'll doodle an entire room or an entire piece of furniture in like time-lapse fashion, or he has like doodle offs with where they're like 1 minute doodle drawing competitions with other artists. You can find some really interesting videos on this artist here, and it's really neat to see how quickly he can come up with ideas and link them together. So definitely check him out if you finish early. His name is Mr. Doodle. I would Google him. He's cool. Once you get to the point where your paper is filled with the images that are meaningful to you, a great way to link those pictures, those drawings, and those images is by using artistic lines and patterns in interesting ways to make the pictures and images look more connected. And it makes everything feel more unified, like it all belongs together. So once you finish your main images, adding all of those important things from that list that you came up with of all the things that you love that represent yourself, then start thinking about your favorite lines and patterns. And in the next slide, I created a sheet of different lines and patterns that I drew that might inspire you for different ways of linking your pictures together to make your picture feel complete and your paper feel full. So this is the sheet I was talking about. This is a simple sheet of really simple lines. I just used all the lines you already know, the lines you remember and learned in kindergarten. Like zigzag and wavy and loopy and straight and diagonal and all of those simple lines. And I just tried to think about different ways of making them a bit more interesting. Sometimes I would thicken them in different ways. Sometimes I would repeat them in different ways. Sometimes I would connect them in different ways. Like the one where I have a triangle design. I have a triangle pointing up and a triangle pointing down, and it creates a pattern going across. Or creating a zigzag line that instead of a perfect zigzag, it's irregular. So some parts are higher and some parts are lower. Just try to think outside the box. If you take the simple ideas that you know from art and just try to say, how could I make this a little bit more interesting? And that's a great way to come up with those designs that can link your little drawings together and really fill up your space in an interesting way. Here is one more video I made for you to help you to start thinking about how we want to arrange our paper. So now that our name is on there in an interesting way, to start including those objects that are most meaningful to us. Instead of just drawing those objects anywhere, then now we have to start planning. We have to start thinking about how large we want them to be, how much of them we want to see. Do they overlap with each other? Are they on an angle? Are they coming out from behind our name? How can we arrange them on our paper, on our space, to make them most interesting and also help to tell our story that we are trying to tell with these objects about how they represent us and why we like them? So once you choose those 3 items, really think about the placement, think about the size. I encourage you to look back over your list and make sure that you've included everything that you really think is important to you and representing you. That you have areas that overlap and create interest in your art. That you have areas of light and dark, which create contrast and interest in your art. Different sizes of drawings also can be very impactful and create visual interest in your artwork, and make sure that your drawings connect and tell your story.